Hey, we're back for another season of When Marriage and Purpose Collide.
We share our dating experiences and have our own story that led to marriage.
We are here to inspire and encourage Christian singles who are striving to date with a purpose and have a desire for marriage. As a coach that helps women in their dating season
and guide men in theirs, we will provide you with thought-provoking hot topics that can challenge your thinking and encourage you in your single season.
So take notes and join in on the discussion. We would love to see your input in the conversation. Now on to the episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome back.
What's up?
Oh, yeah. I think it's interesting. Okay, anyway. Welcome back to another episode of The
Marriage and Purpose
Collide,
the podcast.
Hey, y'all. Hey, we're back.
I think we did that backwards. I think we usually do the little
We did.
or something.
It never.
No.
We always figure it out.
Intro's never the same, but that's okay.
No. But anyway, listen, we are glad you all made it back for another episode. And listen, today's episode, or whenever you're listening to this, tonight's episode, it's our last episode of the season. Yes.
I need to get me a soundboard so I could just.
You should get you a soundboard.
That's too much, though.
You should get you a soundboard. But we want to thank you all so much for tuning in this season. We will have something special for you all in the summertime. It won't be the same as this, but we'll let y'all know it's something special. So Stay tuned for what we have for the summer. But it's the last episode. And thank you all for those who have voted for us in the KCPC Awards. We won't know. Today was the last day to vote. We won't know if we made the best podcast in Kansas City.
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we won't know until the end of July when the event actually is hosted. So we'll let y'all know. But we appreciate you all for voting and keeping us at the top. We don't know where we landed as far as how many votes or anything.
I'm just glad we're there.
Just glad we're there. Glad we're nominated. Glad we're in the room. So appreciate that. And as always, please like, subscribe, and comment on our channel. YouTube,
Spotify,
Apple, and any other platform that's streaming.
It would have been Google Podcasts, but they switched over to YouTube Music. So we're on there too.
But listen, we have two lovely faces here just looking at us. And we want to make sure that y'all like, who are these people? We just talking.
Right.
And so we have this wonderful couple here. We have Brandon and Emily that have joined us today for this podcast. It's so interesting. We'll go later. Well, actually, I talk about it now. Brandon was actually the guest for this episode today. And then Emily was like, well,
I can.
we can do this together. We can be a team in this. And so it was so lovely that we had both of them just on the spot, just come and join in. So we're just about to have a conversation, y'all. It's going to be great. So but before we start, we want them to give us a brief intro about themselves. So tell us about yourselves, where you are, and about how long you've been married, all the beautiful things that you want to share.
You want to go first? You're the pretty one. Hey guys, so my name is Brandon. Thank you for having me on your show. I am a life coach straight out of the Boston area, and I'm a life coach. I'm a husband of over 1 year now.
Hey,
congratulations!
And aspiring father someday. So I love relationships. Relationships are fun. And I love talking about them because they're interesting. So
good.
Yeah, I'll say we watch a lot of different shows like Married at First Sight or even Love is Blind and just kind of examine relationship patterns. We love to kind of just pause and like from each of our perspectives, like, oh, I think this is happening. It seems like this is what's not being said and things like that. So we really just love to talk about relationships and think about how to have healthy relationships. So we're honored to be here. My name is Emily. For me, I'm newly in the career of mental health. I have a master's in mental health counseling, and I'm finishing up a year fellowship working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, working with veterans. And I'll be moving into a new position in the next month, working more in a community mental health setting. I also am an officer in the Massachusetts Army National Guard and have been for 15 years.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service, Emily.
Thanks for your support.
All right. Thank you so much for the beautiful intro that you both gave. It's funny that you said Married at First Sight because, well, yes. I was the one that started watching. And I think I watched it before we were dating, I think, when the show first came out, I want to say.
What?
Or maybe probably newly married. I don't know. But I would watch the show and I would give him the highlights. I don't think he was fully watching it, but a lot of the conversation pieces that we would have will be because I watched the show and some of the things, well, I heard on the show that such and such did this. Do we ever have crazy. But then as the show went on and different things, like I think you started watching a few episodes with me.
Yeah, there was a few. Where that I'll catch highlights on TikTok and that'd be enough for me.
Yeah, so that'll be enough because once you see the highlights, that's
the highlights. I was like, oh yeah, I saw such and such.
Yeah,
acting up.
Yep. And Love Is Blind is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I was telling.
It's difficult.
I was telling her like, you know what? There's something about Love. I don't like the people on Love at First Sight. I think they're bad, and I'm like, wait, but they're the same people. And then we started talking. Then we realized that the formats of the shows are totally different. Yep. You know, one show you're starting off married, and then the other show you're basically dating to find love.
Yeah,
not marriage, but love.
Yeah, that's the part, and that's why I was like, I don't know, and I think it goes too far because they have the whole the escape to the honeymoon, and then everybody's around, and then they get back. It's just a lot more involved, a lot more drama, I believe. And the Married at First Sight already has drama, so
there's plenty. There's plenty.
Yeah. And then there's that new show, the Balloon Pop one. Have you
just watched that? Literally before this, we were watching that.
Remember they pop the balloons, and somebody comes out, and they have a row of women or men. And if they don't like you, if they hear something, they just pop.
20v1 or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I introduced her to the show, and like we were watching the episode where like a nurse, a male nurse, like who was already on the show, and
he's a dentist.
The dentist, yes. Like he was he was originally on the show, and he was kind of like berating some other woman on the show, and then he came back on. And he was just so arrogant and gaslighting, and all of them popped all of their balloons. He just went one by one telling them what is wrong with them.
Oh my God.
He was basically like, so you're triggered because ... And it was like, oh man, it was really cool.
I know what guy they talking about, because he was the same one. I think at the beginning he said that he was a doctor, but then they found out he was actually a dentist.
Oh, okay. He was kind of fudging.
Well, they say he was very arrogant. Yeah.
So okay, but no, those shows, I don't know. I have to pick and choose nowadays because it's getting real out here. So
yeah.
But anyway, so we like to start off the show with something called
Confessions.
This is my confessions. And I don't know the words like that. I'm a.
You get the song to play.
Yeah. So, this is the part of the show where we give our lighthearted confessions about the week, the month, likes, dislikes, whatever it is. So, would you like to go first?
I don't know.
Or is it together? We're doing it together.
Which one are you doing? Okay. I just wanted to make sure because you brought the other one too. I was like, oh, we might do that one. You can do I'll do
okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Do your confession.
All right. So basically we have a family of beavers. It's been kind of like a soap opera. I don't know, like event for us.
Reality show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because first it was just one beaver.
Mm-hmm.
But come to find out, we was actually seeing two big beavers.
Yeah. Yeah.
We thought it was just one. And then we had baby beavers.
Yep. Yep.
You try to say that twice.
You can't say that.
Baby beavers. Anyway, so now we're sitting there trying to count how many beavers it is. We've seen the two adults, and now I think it's like 4 or 5.
It's about 4. It's 4 baby beavers.
Yeah, baby beavers.
I'm sure there's probably a name for them. We just saying baby beavers.
So now every time
What'd
we
you
see
say,
them,
Brandon?
You guys feed them or
no?
So we attempted to.
Apples out there because I looked online. They said they like apples.
They didn't get the apples.
They didn't come to the apples. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about. The squirrels took the apples.
Now you'll have a bunch of squirrels looking for
looking for food.
We just saw some out there. It's like some squirrels out there. Yeah, they took all the apples.
Yeah, so but it's kind of cute. It was just because the kids. I was like, well, we ain't got to go to the zoo.
Nope,
This is zoo in the
just
backyard.
right out the window. Watch them. Like, did they move yet? Oh yeah, they moved.
Oh, they came out. Yeah,
but we ain't seen them.
Haven't seen them in a while. I think they
not this week.
I think they took a journey. They went on, packed up, and went to another family.
What? Got adopted?
Yeah, they got. I mean, another house.
Another
creek.
That's possible. They probably like our creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get much water over there.
Yeah, so that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, so that's your story.
Yep.
All right.
Sticking to it.
All right. Thank you, babe. So the confession that we have, or I guess is we were all in it together, is that I suggested that we go to the lake last week. It was the day before Memorial Day. And I was like, let's just go to the lake and, it'd be good to show the kids because we haven't been with the kids. We used to go when we were dating and I think we went once or twice when we were married, but we never really brought the kids with us. And so we thought this would be a good time. So we got the kids and then he thought maybe we could bring their bikes. They could put their helmets on and we could ride around the lake with the bikes, all the things. So we get there and they do a little riding with their bikes, but we go walk the trail to go to where the water is. And right when we hit the grass,
we got so many little details with that.
Our son is not a bug fan. So every little bug that's flying, or just imagine any fly, dragonfly, whatever was passing by you, he would scream or screech or whatever and stop and then just not. It was just not. And he's 4. So he's 4. And so it was not the best experience because he was like, I want to go home.
It was like a nightmare for him.
And we were trying to get some good footage, because he has he does a little videography and photography and things.
No idea what's happening.
And so we just had to cut it, do something real quick, and then go ahead and go back home. So we didn't do. It was not relaxing like we would thought. So, that's my confession of we need to go back, but without the kids.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
He said maybe.
We have to go to the beach part.
Yeah, probably the beach part.
Although I ain't getting in that water.
No, I don't like lake water. If it's not the ocean, I'm good.
Oh, that just sounds nasty.
Lake water. But it is. Anyway, sorry if y'all like lake water. I apologize. I don't want to offend anybody.
No, it doesn't sound like you can drink it. So
yeah.
All right.
Confession.
I'm still thinking.
I have a lot of confessions. But I'm trying to pick. Actually, yeah, I'll share a confession.
Okay.
So my wife is very tech savvy.
Oh.
So what happened was I don't know. So we're using her laptop right now, and why? Because my laptop. So for a long time, I could not get the camera onto my laptop. Like the camera would be on, but it would be showing black. And,
oh wow!
And I'm like, oh wow, I'm literally about to do this show in like 5 minutes. I'm about to just like literally do it on my phone, and then I get your and I'm like, oh, like you should use your laptop. It's better. And I'm like, crap. So I'm like, babe, can I use your laptop because my camera is not working? And then I go to the bathroom and like I see my wife like looking at my laptop, and she's like, babe, I fixed your problem. Like when cover.
Oh my goodness. I was thinking that when you first said it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Can we still use your laptop though? Because like I don't want to like
he didn't already gave up already. He's
Yeah.
like, just
and then now I'm like using her laptop and she's like make sure that you turn, because she has like a lid where like a what do you call
little
it?
cover.
A cover
Yeah.
for the lens. And she's like,
Yeah.
make sure you turn the cover of the lens lid to the left. And I'm like, okay. And I literally moved the laptop to the left because I thought that's what she was referring to. And I'm like,
are you serious right now?
Oh my goodness.
Like, so if you have any stereotype about millennials being, tech savvy, like I have destroyed that stereotype.
I'm done.
So yeah, that's my confession.
That just goes to show how much you work together.
Oh yeah.
Like how teamwork really does happen. Because
he literally said, "You're a helper. Here it is. There you are."
Yeah, I'm like,
you help me. There you go.
That's a revelation. It's so simple.
It's so simple. It's so simple. I know for us, I don't do anything.
Yeah, I'm the tech guy.
Any of the tech stuff is like, no. Every time I get ready to record something on YouTube, like for myself, when I do my videos, he has to set it up first before I get to it.
She's like, can you set the room up? Yep, I got you.
Like, can you set the room up first? And I can sit down like a whole production.
Takes me all like 2 minutes.
It'll take me 45 minutes to set up something like
how
that.
you put this up? Where does this go? Like, just turn it on.
Anyway, so thank you, Brandon. Emily, did you get anything or?
I mean, I guess this week I'm just thinking a lot about my transition away from this current job and going into my new job. Yeah. So I think I just have moments where I'm definitely going to miss what I'm doing right now, even though I'm really excited for this new opportunity. Like being at this job since September and getting to know veterans on a personal level and like working with them as their therapist and just like, having to say goodbye is difficult after the year that I've had getting to know them. So
transitions are hard. They are, depending on what you're transitioning from and into. But when you're getting to something better, even when it's just bittersweet. It's just bittersweet. I definitely understand. I've been through a lot of transitions. So
it's always that change. It's like, ooh, I'm not ready, but I am ready.
Right. I'm not ready, but I am ready. And he's like, God pushes you into that new thing. And so now it's like, okay, now I gotta trust you. So that's cool. Well, thank you for sharing your confession. I'm glad you thought of something. All right. So you want to do the next part?
Yep.
All right.
So we got 3 questions. The first question: marriage and purpose colliding. What does it mean to you?
It's a good question. Yeah, I feel like I don't think they can be separate. It doesn't make sense to me that because marriage is the purpose that God has intended for humans originally, if you think about it. So so for me, so I take marriage, like, this sounds cliche, but I take it kind of seriously, especially when we started dating. I used to date before we met. I used to date just to find somebody that can make me feel good. Could fulfill any sort of void that I was going through, or just band-aid whatever like trauma or even depression that I was going through. And was just very self-centered and just looking for somebody that would just make me feel good and look good. And when we met, I'll just share about how we met.
Go ahead. We're doing this differently anyway. Go ahead, just share.
The season finale. So
yeah.
So 2020 like literally like right after, like right during in the middle of the pandemic, the shutdown. I lost my job. I was working in accounts payable, and I was just kind of bored. So I literally just like um downloaded one of those Christian dating apps.
Okay.
And it was called at the time, what was it called at the time?
United Young, I believe.
Yeah, United.
Young.
Yeah.
And now it's called Holy.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a little holier.
I mean, it is kind of holy. I mean, they just like they ask you like 10 questions about Jesus, and you have to answer them. And they ask you questions about like, what do you do for Sundays, and
Really?
what's your favorite scripture at the moment. They kind of like let you know like, hey, this is really just for Christians.
Yeah.
And I met her on the app. Now at this time I'm diving into my word. I have this zeal and passion for God. And but I didn't have like a vision for what I wanted in my life necessarily. Wanted like I wanted somebody to just, make me feel good, or just wanted someone to be around, like a companion. And I felt like at the time, and I would even say to this day, like she was way more spiritually mature than I was. She was looking for a husband. She was looking to get married. And I don't know if I was ready for that. She felt like I wouldn't be the type of person that she would want to be with. She didn't see me as a husband at the time, so she broke up with me. And the funny thing is, we dated for like a couple of months, but since it was the pandemic, we had a bunch of FaceTime dates, and we had like a few like in-person dates, but we were like 6 feet apart.
Oh, wow.
And my number one love language is physical touch. So I never touched her at that time.
Wow. During the 2 months, right? The 3 months?
Yeah, 2-3 months. Yeah. So I'm like, I couldn't even like shake your hand. But yeah, she broke up with me, and I spent a year in my church's discipleship school, where we literally just dived into loving Jesus and knowing Jesus and being in his word. And we couldn't date for a year. So we had to take a fast from dating.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait. So, babe, recently I've been on social media, and as I'm scrolling, I'm seeing a lot of people who are struggling in their relationships. And the main thing is communicating. Like, they don't know how to communicate. What do you say about that? What you thinking?
I know a lot of it's mostly geared towards the men, and with the lack of communication, and how like, oh, they can't hold one or something like that, or they're not capable.
Yeah. And I think it's just a learning thing. Like, when you get together, there needs to be tools and resources that you can have to help navigate that journey.
Yeah.
With communicating.
Some kind of structure.
Yeah, some kind of structure, something that you can go to often, and then make your own.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we come into play.
Oh yeah, we got something for you.
Yeah, we got something called the Communication Game Changer. Yeah, it's like a guide that can help you in the season wherever you are, whether you are dating exclusively, you're engaged, or married.
Even single.
I mean, yeah, even if you're single, you can learn, and it's basically a structured question that you can start asking your spouse or significant other.
Yeah.
And I think it can help those who are out there. And it's really a starting point. It's not the ending point. So if you need therapy, go to therapy. But this is a great start.
Definitely a great start, especially y'all having arguments and nobody's listening to each other. We got some.
And we definitely use this. We use this structure, have been using it for a long time now in our marriage. And it's helped us greatly. So
we just want to share it with you.
We just want to share it with you. So go ahead and click the link in the description to get your copy of the Communication Game Changer. All right. Okay. So as you were before you move on to the discipleship piece, Brandon, Emily, can you talk a little bit more about the breakup? He mentioned something about about him not being, or I guess you seeing him not spiritually mature, or in something like that. Can you touch on a little bit about what the reason was, or maybe who called it off, so we can get more insight?
Yeah. So from my perspective, you know, first meeting Brandon, I was like, wow, I really was enjoying getting to know him. And there was definitely a lot of grace for the fact that we were in a pandemic, and it was like, how do you date during a pandemic? How do we do this? Like, he was living with his mom at the time, so like we were extra cautious about the fact that like you mentioned, we did not touch at all. Like our outdoor times, we were 6 feet apart with masks on. Like this was literally so intense, right?
Wow.
And so some time went by and we were talking so frequently, and it got really to the point of like a lot of flirting and like heart messages and things like that. And he had made it pretty clear that like he's not ready to kind of take things to the next level of like really solidifying a relationship at that moment in time. And so kind of just as things got more emotionally complicated, I just felt like, well, what am I doing here? Because I'm already at this place emotionally, and if I go further, it's just going to hurt more. And I don't have clarity that it is going to go where I would like it to go. So ultimately, that's why I called it off, was just that I was like, you know, we've spent this much time together and we're this much emotionally invested. So it either needs to like move forward, which I see that it's not, or I need to like protect my heart, like literally all the, you know, Christianese of like guard your heart. I was like, I think that's what I'm doing right now, because, you know, we're basically acting like we're together, but like we're really not, there's no vision.
Got you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's key, because I think a lot of women do enter into relationships with men that don't have the vision, or they don't feel clarity, even though because they want to have a companion, they want to have somebody. And then it doesn't end up working out, or they don't really know themselves. They kind of get lost in the relationship. So hearing that you actually took a pause. Now, did you do this over text? Did you call him? Like, how did you actually break it off?
FaceTime,
Yeah,
I think.
she called me.
FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Yeah.
Got you. And
Yeah.
what was your response after that, Brandon, when that happened?
I was surprised. Because the funny thing was that I was on the phone with one of my friends,
Okay.
and he was crying to me because his girlfriend broke up with him, and he was distraught, and I was kind of like emotionally heightened at the time. And then right when he hung up, she FaceTimed me, and I was very surprised. I was hurt. I was disappointed. I was more so disappointed. I didn't get a chance to hug her, but it was because I figured that like for me, like this was it. Like we're just going to kind of be like, you know, brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to have any contact with her or like talk to her or anything like that. So I figured that this was it, and I liked her, but I did understand why she wanted to break up, because I literally didn't know what to do next. I didn't have a decision. I didn't have like a clear vision of this is the woman that I want to marry, or even have like a timeline on when I want to get married at that time.
Oh, wow.
Thing was just so up in the air.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was. And yeah, the week later was when I started the discipleship school. It's funny because I was saying that we were like in the park, and we're doing one of those card, I don't know if it's like a card games, but basically it's like those relationship questions.
Oh, yeah.
Someone. And I remember I got a card, and it said, you sacrifice this relation, something like, would you sacrifice this relationship for the Lord? And I'm like,
wow.
The devil is a liar. Get behind me, Satan. Nah. But I was like, yeah, I would. But I'm like, nah,
right, but not this one. Right.
And then I think probably like a week later or 2
Yeah,
weeks
it was
later,
probably
like
really quick after that.
yeah. But I was leading her on, honestly. Like I was
Mm,
flirting with her. I was telling her how beautiful she was,
mm,
and she was definitely right. Like I was emotionally like leading her to a place to nowhere, basically.
mhm. And that's something, because that's like what I hear a lot from a lot of single women that I coach, is that piece. Like, he's leading me on. Like, I don't know if he's for real. I'm for real. How do I know if he's for real? Kind of thing. You sound like you want to say something.
No, I was going to say a lot of men usually don't know that extra step if they've never seen that extra step.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it's like we know the step to get you, but after that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yo, that's facts.
it's like we just here. All right, cool.
Especially if you have no vision, or you have no.
What's the envision other than what you said on TV?
Yeah, exactly. So spiritually, Brandon, what was your spirituality like before? I guess what did it look like? Because I know you're about to go into discipleship too, and you could go into that too.
Yeah. I mean, at that time I was very into head knowledge. I was into, Bible study, and I'll be honest with you. I was really puffed up. Like I thought I knew the Bible, thought I knew the word, but I really didn't. I just knew scripture. And you can even ask my friends from church that knew me at the time, like like they had to rebuke me because I was just arrogant. Um so the discipleship school, so our church is Antioch. We have like a huge Antioch movement across the country. There's plenty of Antioch churches around the country and like different places in the world.
Okay.
So they have what they call ADS, in Antioch Discipleship School, which is like a year-long discipleship program where we're just with a group of other people that just want to just devote their lives to Jesus, in prayer, in discipleship groups, men and women. We're evangelizing all the time. We're reading scripture and memorizing scripture, but we're also dealing with trauma that we've dealt with, that we're dealing with, that we're going through. We did projects like the Geneagram, where we would basically map out like our family tree, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, like some of the like different like dysfunctions that our family members have
Wow.
gone through, and how they have affected us in a certain way, and like a timeline of like our lives from a certain period of the most significant things, good or bad, that has happened to us, and kind of what shaped us into who we are today. So and fasting, like all kind, we're not doing anything but Jesus. Like people are not watching certain things. We're definitely not dating
Yeah.
anyone. That would be a distraction.
Yeah.
So that year was interesting. Like I feel like God really humbled me and kind of showed me like who I really was. And and I grew up in a Pentecostal church. My mom, she to this day she's an elder, but she was a pastor at her church. And my brother and my sister, they're older than me. Like they love the Lord. And we grew up in a Pentecostal background. And yeah, there was just a lot that went on. And I kind of when I gave my life to Jesus, I kind of had like this religious OCD about me, and um didn't really truly understand the love of God. And I've lived a life of performance, like a performance-based Christianity. So if I wasn't reading my Bible, if I wasn't praying all the time, if I wasn't fasting, you know, I had this mentality that God the Father disapproves of me. And even though I heard the gospel, it's like I still didn't believe that fully. I still believe that I had to prove myself just through my actions. And it was during that year that like God really revealed his love for me. And I'm just like, oh wow, I can, like, I don't have to do anything but just receive your grace. And I'm like, and like the gospel throughout that time started to really come alive for me. And I started to really understand like what the significance is of marriage and the gospel. And it was during that time where like God was revealing to me, like, you know, marriage, I know this is what you desire, Brandon. Like everyone in my class was like either married or is trying to get married, and we're just like, Lord, when is it our time? And he was like, yo, this, you know, marriage is just a physical image of a spiritual reality. And I'm like you have to learn that if you're going to be a husband one day, you have to image me, which is love the way that I love my church. And I'm like, okay, so it's not really about me, it's about your love working through me. I'm like, wow, like it's like a weight that just lifted off of me. And yeah, so we spent a year doing that. And I remember like we came back from like a mission trip to Seattle. I went right back on the dating apps because I'm like, yo, like it's time now. I'm free. I
want to get married now.
And at the time, I'm like, yo, I'm ready for marriage. Like I literally wrote down the vision for our lives, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And I remember like I went on a different Christian dating app called Upward. I know a lot of people have gone on that, and on that dating app for a couple of times, and I'm like, you know what, let me try. I would swipe right. Well, you know, we were still friends. Like she supported me on my missions trip.
Okay.
But you know, we rarely talked.
Okay.
You know, I kind of want to check in just to see what she was doing because I was curious because I still had feelings for her. But yeah, so every time I would swipe right a couple of times just to see if we would match, and we didn't. And I remember I was like one night I'm just like I was looking at her profile, and you know this girl is paragraph long about her love for the Lord.
Wow.
Like there's one girl that's, and then I see hers, and I'm like, I love Jesus. And I'm yeah, that is the type of woman that I want to marry. And but like, you know, we're not swiping right, we're not matching. I'm just like, God, I want her. I just like belched that out. I'm like, God, I just want her. So one night, I don't know what night it was, I swiped right and we matched. And I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, what? And I'm like, this is cap. Let me just I messaged her and I was like, hey Emily, I'm flattered that you liked my profile. LOL.
Hilarious.
And then she responded. She was like, yeah, I'm flattered that you like my profile too. LOL. And then we were like, all right, so what do we do from here? Let's start dating. So
I have my own side.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Emily, what was going on with this whole year? First off, were you dating all the things, and then could come?
Yeah. So I was dating as well. Yeah, so really important part of my dating journey is that I got connected with a Christian singles ministry that is local to the Boston area, led by this wonderful, wonderful woman, Rebecca. And she has just had a heart for singles for years. She's married with children. And so she had, during the pandemic, she had started doing these like weekly Zoom calls where she would just kind of have like a topic where she would talk about the topic a little bit and then just like break everyone up and throw questions out there. And she'd like shuffle the guys around because there was usually a lot more women than men, as a lot of these things go. So she'd shuffle the guys around into each room so they'd get to mingle with like all the ladies, you know, throughout the whole call, and we'd have conversations. And that, so my first exposure to that was actually, I saw that they were doing a speed dating event on Zoom. And so I applied to it and I got accepted to it. So literally from my dining table, I was like sitting, going on these like 7-minute dates with with these guys over Zoom, which is really interesting. And within that ministry, I would say, you know, there's so many different rabbit holes I could go down with all these details, but I think the biggest thing I took away from that was just that the counsel and the wisdom that Rebecca was giving us was really solid. And like, I just like ate it up and was like, yes, okay, this is really good. Like just simple things like different principles about even like how to approach dating, like the first date, and like really just like not putting all of your eggs in this basket and putting all of the stakes on the table and just being so super serious, but just like, all right, like we're getting to know each other and we're going to see if we want to get to know each other more on another date. Like we don't need to make this like so serious, you know, just like, do I enjoy this person's company? Let me just like get to know them and enjoy their company. And so between that and like tips about even just like simple physical intimacy, where like she had a recommendation to not even necessarily like hold hands with someone until you're exclusively dating them. Just like recognizing that like physical intimacy at like all these different levels like impact you as you're navigating the dating world. And like it's so true, because like I know for me it really did, like whenever physical intimacy did start to kind of like progress, it really does kind of suck you in like more emotionally. Then, you know, you might not see everything right away because you haven't gotten that far, but like you're being pulled in this other way, and it just kind of clouds everything. And so I just started to put a lot of that into practice as I started dating more, and I saw the fruit of that. And I was really encouraged. I made a lot of really good friends through that ministry. There was a lot of like group outings or just like dinners at a friend's house. This man who loved to host would always like have us over his house. And so I had a really good experience in growing in that area. I had some moments of hurt during that time as well, where like I would get to know people, and you know, as much wisdom as I was putting into it, there were still those little pieces of me that were like, I want this to be the right thing, but it's not quite right. And so like, not that I was like spending way too much time entertaining certain things, but just like a little, like not cutting things off quite where they should have been cut off, and just kind of like going a little bit longer just to see the same result that like, no, like, it really isn't. And yeah, I don't know. There's one particular experience I went through where I experienced some virtual stalking as well. And that was kind of jarring for me, because I felt like initially I had safety with the person that I was dating at that time. And then I just kind of started to feel uncomfortable with like how fast emotionally things were going. And I, to a point, was just like, you know what, like I need to pull away now because there's just like this instinct that just doesn't feel right. And so it did result in just some, for lack of a better term, like virtual stalking and like kind of trying to reach out to me on different platforms. And that was difficult for me to know how to respond to. I was living alone at the time, and it really just like, I was like, I barely know this person, and I'm just like really not sure like what could happen and what is behind this. And so I had that. And then kind of what was like the final straw, I guess, for me was just that I had briefly dated someone, maybe like 2 or 3 dates tops. And for me, I chose to give up drinking back in like 2016 as part of my own individual journey, for multiple reasons. I mean, for me personally, I feel as though if I look at my alcohol use, like I would be more likely to use it in response to like wanting to deal with an emotion, or like just the purpose of it wasn't good. And for me, I was just like, I don't really want that to be on the table as an option for me to just like go to that instead of finding a different way to cope. And my church at the time was very much involved in ministering to people that are in recovery. And so it was an expectation for people at a certain level in like influence in the church to make that decision. And so with this particular person that I dated very briefly, that conversation came up. I was like very clear, like, yeah, like, you know, drinking is something that I just like, it's a no for me. And so like, I just don't feel like it would be okay for me to not, and then to have my partner and then we have it in the house. And like, I would really just prefer us to not drink. And I shared about my church and all of that. And so we went on a few dates. He kind of like stood me up for a date and then ended up sharing that he smokes weed.
Oh, wow.
And so I was just kind of like feeling really frustrated because I was like, okay, this person, like, first of all, we were supposed to have a date and like they did not respond to me at all until like 24 hours later. And now they're sharing this information that really would have been helpful to have like at the jump, like, because I'm not interested. And it's like, it's not that I'm judging you for that being your thing. It's just, I'm not compatible with that. Like, and I put my cards out on the table.
Right.
You know, and I was like, that just feels like deceitful to kind of not share that with me from the jump. And, you know, so I just ended up really frustrated after that last encounter and was just like, ugh, like, what is happening? You know, like, and I'll admit, like, on the positive side of my journey, there were a lot of moments where I was meeting really great people and it just like wasn't working out. And I was encouraged by that because I was like, okay, I do see that there are men that love Jesus and are like walking this out, you know, in dating in a godly way. And so like in the midst of encouragement, there was so much frustration. And I went up to one of my pastors who at my old church, who's a woman and knew me really well. And I was just kind of sharing my frustration. And she kind of just said something that at the time she didn't realize the weight in what she was saying, but she was just like, maybe you've already met this person before.
Wow.
Maybe it just wasn't the right time or something. And like, it must have been a day later, maybe at most, probably, that I just started thinking about Brandon. Like, I know it was like super fast, like, because I remember being like, that literally was not just words from you. Like, there was something behind that. I started thinking about Brandon, and then literally he popped up on Upward, and I was like, well, this is a great opportunity because if we don't match, then there's no harm in it. If we do match, then it's the best way for me to start a conversation because I broke up with him. So like, how else are we gonna like have a conversation? Like, I could be really bold and just be like, hey, I'm thinking about you, you know, but like matching over a platform kind of like breaks that.
Right.
Like, oh, you're interested too? Great. Like, let's talk.
Yeah.
What was going on for me? And so when he messaged me, I immediately was like, I remember immediately being very intentional about how I responded, because I did feel really like odd about the fact that like I broke things off and now like we're reconnecting, and I like wanted it to be clear that like I'm serious about like wanting to get to know him more and seeing if this is like something that could work.
Wow. What I like about both of your stories is that y'all needed that year. Like,
Yeah.
you needed that year in order to be prepared for that. Brandy, you needed the discipleship for that year to do praying, fasting, to really lean into God, to be stronger, and for God to give you the confirmation that this is the marriage, this is what's for me, and to create a vision as a man, period, but then also as a future husband. And then Emily, you were able to go through that with I always talk to a lot of women, some of our friends, who once they stepped out there, that's when things started working for them. So once you were starting to do your journey and not even be like, and like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of this dating thing, or just go separate, like go totally left and start dating, like serial dating and getting out there and being, the opposite of who you are. Like you actually like were taking care of yourself and doing the real self work, which is joining the classes, being coached by the woman you're talking about, practicing your communication skills by talking to men. Like that's what needs to be done in our season. We just out here thinking this man gonna pop up,
right?
Like when do the work and then watch what happens. And the work doesn't mean like he's going to come at your doorstep, but somehow God is going to work how he comes in your life. It could be somebody you knew. It could be somebody totally new at Home Depot or walking down the street. I don't know.
Somebody from your past. You never know.
Yeah,
exactly.
Another thing too, I think that became really clear as part of my own journey was like viewing like along the lines of not putting so much pressure on dating. I really got a sense of like these men that I'm dating are my brothers, and like these women that I'm finding community with as well are my sisters. And like it was just like a whole different lens to see things through, because it was like this isn't like something where like I have to feel like scorned if like you're not interested in me and you break things off, or like you don't accept proposal or whatever, like I can just look at you as a brother and say like, okay, like clarity is a great thing. Like clarity is great. I will say that and shout that from the rooftops. Like if you're not interested, you let me know clearly. Thumbs up. Like I don't sit around and like wonder, like just share your feelings, right? Like so that's another thing about the whole process, was just like learning to be clear and being okay when someone is like genuinely saying like I'm not interested, because like you're like, okay, like we can both depart and find people one day that we will feel clear about wanting them.
And like she mentioned that like she changed the way she thought about guys. Like she realized that these are my brothers in Christ. And like the problem that we have today is like you have people who have been heartbroken, hurt in the dating in the world, whether that whoever that may be. Now you're coming to the church, coming to Christ, and you're coming to this brand new family. But now you have all of this baggage inside of you, and now you're dating somebody in the church thinking that they're actually somebody in the world. So that person is not your brother or your sister. That person is a threat. So now, like, so of course we'll talk about all men don't do this or don't do that, or women don't do this or don't do that, because we're really viewing our brothers and sisters. We're literally brothers and sisters in Christ, even though we're married. We're viewing them as like, to the guy, she's a piece of, or from the girl, oh, he's a threat. So I have to either protect myself or whatever. And we realize that we're not viewing each other in the way that God sees us. So we end up hurting each other, and of course getting hurt again, only this time in the church.
Yeah. And I think that's something to say about that, because we're not taught that. I talk a lot about how we're not taught to really date in the church. Like nobody, it may be okay, they might have sermons about singleness and you might talk to someone separately, but really, like, if you're in the church, your own church, and you're interested in somebody, like, nobody teaches you how to approach that person, or to be, like you said, like, how do I see him as a brother, but I'm attracted to him and I want him to holler at me, but how do I do that, you know? And then from the guy's point of view, like, I want to go up to her, but I see that she's more spiritually mature. I don't know if she's ready or if I'm ready for her. But how do we even, and maybe you can get your take on, like, how do you break that? And how does the church get with, like, helping singles see each other as brothers and sisters, to where they can even get past that? Is that the church's responsibility? Is it the leaders? Is it us who are married to show? Like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone's responsibility because we're in the church. So, especially the leaders. I mean, first of all, like, the leaders are our parents. I mean, we don't think about, like, the thing is that, like, when we read scripture, when we read about Christ being the head and his church being the body, like, we're interconnected. We're together, and whoever's the head of the house, whether that be the pastor, the bishop, whatever that may be, like that person or whoever is in leadership at least should be the ones, leading the conversation of, like, all right, as a man of God, this is your sister. So if she's your sister, how can you protect your sister? How do you see your sister, right? So, men, like, a lot of men, like, one big issue that we struggle with is lust, and that's due from sexual sins that we commit, pornography, all these different things. And you still have these temptations, but you have a distorted view of a woman, period, and also your sister in Christ. So if she's my sister, then I have to view her as someone that I value, made in the image of God. That's why she's valuable. She is cherished by God. Like, God cherishes her. Like, like the Bible says that we're God's inheritance. Like, jewels. Like, we don't know this about ourselves. And of course, like, if this is God's jewel, this is God's treasure, then I have to see her that way. So even though I might be, like, attracted to her, I have to, and this is what I was practicing when we were dating, like, I have to protect her in my mind. So first of all, I don't think you should be dating somebody that you're not attracted to. That's why we have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries with somebody you're dating with, then you probably shouldn't be dating them in the first place. Like, it's a good thing. It's a good, women are good.
Yeah.
I tell guys this all the time. Women are good.
Right.
But the thing is that, like I have to protect her in the way that I see her. So I have to. So one thing that I say a lot is, like, she is made in the image of God, with innate and intrinsic value, whom that I love as a sister.
Yeah.
So I'm going to protect her reputation. I want to protect her body. I want to protect her name, because I'm essentially doing that myself. So with guys, like, I tell guys, is like, like if you want to be a husband one day, you have to practice that out when dating. Like if you're dating just to date, then you're not going to be married one day.
Yeah.
You have to practice that out. So the Bible says that husbands love your wives just as Christ loved the
Loves the
church.
church. Mm-hmm.
Of course, Christ died for his church. So I don't. This is an extreme statement, but I think this is really clear.
Yeah.
If I have sex with my girlfriend at the time
Mm-hmm.
before I get married, I don't love her.
That's true.
Because like the way that I show love to her
Yeah.
is by dying. So I have to die to whatever this flesh that is telling me to take that next step, to get rid of that boundary. Because really I'm like I said before, when I was dating, I was trying to find somebody that will fulfill my needs.
Yeah.
Where the gospel is saying that no, the gospel is clear that that Jesus cherished humanity to the point of dying, reconciling humanity back to God.
Yeah.
And if I'm dating her, I want to be a man of God that through my life, through my actions, through my words, is pointing her back to Christ.
Come on, yeah.
And I'm washing her with the word of God, and I'm protecting her body because if I see her as my wife one day, right? Like she's literally going to be my body. And the Bible says like you have to, like a man loves himself if he takes care of his body.
Yeah.
So if I'm hurting if I'm doing things to my body, then I'm not loving her. And this is where we are right now. Like
yeah.
I like there's always going to be responsibility on the women's side, but I put the more responsibility on men. Because if we're called to be leaders, then we have to lead through death.
Yeah. That's good. You preaching, Brandon?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. I have something I really want to share this with you because I don't know how much of this I've really articulated, but like everything that you just said about protecting me and my body. So I have a history of sexual assault in my past, and so navigating trauma and intimacy and dating and then becoming a Christian and kind of navigating the shame that comes along with like sexual sin and like boundaries not being held and things like that. Like I feel like so often in dating, I didn't feel safe because I was always like, when is this boundary going to get broken? Like, there had been moments in my own dating life where I'd be the one setting the boundary. Yeah. And I didn't like that because I was like, if this isn't something you're invested in, like it's only a matter of time before this boundary is going to go away and I don't feel safe. Yeah. And so, because even if I'm like in the moment with you, like it's so true. Like I'm like, my heart is out there unprotected. And if we go to this next step, like that is harmful for me. And so I really like, as your wife and as someone who dated you prior to marriage and like was on the receiving end of this, like I have to say how safe I felt with that's good. With the boundaries that we set and knowing that like you were 100% invested in protecting me, even in those moments where, as we're planning the wedding, we're maybe making out in my car a little bit as we're like after dinner, like
she's fine.
Like even in those moments, I was like, okay, like we knew, all right, there's that moment where you're like, all right, we're gonna go. It's done. Yeah. And I never felt unsafe. And it's such a beautiful thing, like for me to have experienced that redemption from all of the other relationships and dating situations that I had been in. And like I look back on it now and I'm just like, thank you, Lord, and thank you, like that in all those moments of dating, like we never crossed the boundary.
Yeah.
In my mind and in my heart and in my conscience, like I feel like you never allowed us to cross a boundary. And I appreciate that so much, especially in light of like everything that you just shared.
Yeah. That was key. You want to share something? You want to share something?
Oh no, I was just listening to all that. I was just like, ooh, this
I was
nice.
making sure you okay. And then you say something about this.
No, just for some reason in my head I'm thinking of Kesugi.
There you go. What
is it's the broken bowl. I have to find the actual definition for it, but basically it's like a interpretation
of the Japanese bowl.
Yeah, the broken bowl, but it's the pieces that seem broken are lined with gold. In other words,
oh, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. But it reminds me of that where it's like you're where you kind of think your boundary is worn because you always got to put it up, but more if he sees it as there's beauty within it. And it's not worn. It's actually stronger than what you basically seen it as. And that's why I was thinking of Kasugi.
Yeah.
I'm probably saying it wrong, but yeah.
It might be, but hey.
The whole time I was like, this is nice.
He has a history with Japan culture, so that's why.
Yeah, sorry. My mind always goes there. So yeah.
No, that was good. No, I appreciate you sharing that and thank you for opening up even about your history with trauma. I know that's what a lot of women go through. And whether or not you went through it, we as women go through it. We want somebody that makes us safe, you know, and it's very key. And it's the same story that we talk about a lot on our podcast about boundaries and how we were navigating that season as well.
Oh, my boundaries were strict.
Yeah, we have a whole episode about boundaries and how we did it, but he was the one leading the way, you know? And so it really helped me understand like where he was and what he wanted and his love for me, you know? So I totally agree with you.
Like my prime example of boundaries, like right now it's kind of dark outside. I would not go in your apartment.
No, he wouldn't.
I call it vampire hours.
Our boundary, like, he was never in the house alone with me before we got married. Like, it was just like, nope, we're not doing that. Don't care what time of day it is. Like, there's no need for us to be here alone, unsupervised.
Man.
Understandable.
Listen,
I think I left something in her apartment. She was like, "You won't get it?" No,
he said,
"It's good." Either you hand it to me or it's gonna be in there. I ain't going in.
You gotta know yourself. You gotta know your triggers. You got to know, like, when you have that thought of like, you know, can I go cross the line? That's where you should know that's a boundary that you should set up. Like it's crazy because like it's funny because like when we were dating, like when we had these boundaries set up, it felt good, it felt safe. And like the closer when we got engaged and then the closer we got to our wedding day, like it got harder. Because we're like,
get these boundaries out of here.
Like we're getting closer. And we trusted each other to, you know, be a little bit lenient with some of the boundaries. Yet we were like, hey, like if we're going too far, like with kissing, right? Because I know some people kissing is off the limits. It was off the limits at first, and then after a few months we started to kiss. But we would trust each other, you know. We were like, hey, like let's slow down. So
I get it.
Can I share the car boundary?
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, share the car boundary. We need healthy singles out here, Emily.
So this is hilarious. I don't remember exactly the conversation we had, but there was a conversation that Brandon initiated early on in dating to give expectations of certain boundaries. And whatever he said, only the Lord knows right now. But what I took from that is that he didn't want to be in the car alone, period.
Okay.
And in my mind, I was like, that's cool. Like I appreciated that because I was like, you know what? If that's where he's at, cool. He's being clear. He's protecting us. We didn't live near each other anyway. So we were always like meeting up at a midpoint to go on dates. So it just like, it never really was a thing where it felt inconvenient. And so for months we were just like never in the car together. I was telling my mom like, yeah, he has this boundary, like that we're not in the car alone together. It's like it's our thing. And people are like, wow, like that is like extreme, but okay, like whatever works for you. And I just loved it. And then like one day he like walked me to my car and like somehow it came up where I think he said something like, how come I'm like never in your car? And I was like, are you serious? Like you created this boundary. And he's like, I did not. Like, where did you get that from? And so like for literally months, like I just had this idea that he created this boundary and we just like kept it for the longest time and then realized it wasn't even a real boundary. But I was thankful because I was like, you know what? Like it really didn't hurt us. And it really could have helped us actually in the long run because like we didn't get comfortable with just like sitting in my car late at night after a date when we don't want to leave each other, you know?
I feel like now that I think about it, we probably mixed up like other boundaries with that one. Or like I had like because you know I wasn't going to be at her house alone. So I probably like projected that boundary to like the car. So, like, if I can't be in the same building with you alone, then I probably shouldn't be in the same car. But I thought he said that boundary. I don't know how that happened. Like, but it was just hey, I guess it was the Lord that just said it.
It's also a prime example that we learned and are still learning that like he'll say something and it means one thing and interpret it as another thing. And like if we don't clarify, we just go our separate ways with two completely different interpretations of that conversation. And then we come back and I'm like, you said this and this meant that. And he's like, no,
that's not what it meant.
And so I feel like some of that happened too.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Like no, that boundary, that was protection. That's what I believe that was. That was definitely protection.
Yeah.
It was.
So we don't definitely have to invite y'all back for a part 2 of just marriage, how marriage is going in general for you both. But I do want to continue with and before I know we over an hour. Hopefully you guys okay with time. Are you guys okay, cool. With how the road to marriage, like what was the time frame of when you all met on Upward again and then started dating and then engaged to wedding? So if someone can explain that journey for us.
I know the exact date.
Oh, well, Emily, go for it.
So it was September 30th, 2021 that we went out on our first real date where we sat less than 6 feet apart from each other and had both tea. Okay. I remember because the fiscal year
6 feet apart. We were sitting next to each other like this.
What I'm saying is we were less than 6 feet apart.
Oh, less than 6 feet.
Oh, gotcha.
The fiscal year was closing. I was in like a finance type job. So like I remember that day the fiscal year was closing and I was like sort of in the back of my mind worried that I was going to get a call from work that like something needed to be fixed before the fiscal year closed. And here I am on this date that I was like super excited about. So that's when we started dating again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
we had I would say we had 4 dates, like four dates, including that first date.
Okay.
From my recollection. And after that 4th date, I asked her, we had a conversation about, if we should move forward in this relationship as far as claiming each other as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yep.
I believe after the 4th date.
I think that's roughly accurate.
Yeah. After the 4th date, I asked her if she could be my girlfriend.
Okay.
And this was like a little over a month later from our
Okay.
1st date, and she said yes. And I'm like, cool. So we dated, and this was in October 2021.
Okay.
So we were dating, and then by December, I met her mom.
Oh, met the family.
Yes, I
Yeah.
met her mom. I remember we were going to have dinner at Cheesecake Factory, and I remember like I got the reservation. I was like super early, so I decided to. So the Cheesecake Factory was in a mall, so I decided to go window shop, and I go to H&M,
Yep.
and then like ended up bumping into the two of them because like she was buying shoes,
Uh-huh.
and then like I'm like, oh, this is your mom, cool. So she goes off and buying her shoes while I'm having like a back and forth conversation with her mom about her while she's buying her shoes. And that was like how I literally just hit it off with her mom just like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by February, the one thing that was kind of initially like a big nebulous cloud was the fact that we were going to different churches at the time.
Okay.
And we expressed early on the openness to like lay down our own church and like eventually attend the other's church. Like we were both willing to sacrifice that. But it still, I guess, was weighing heavily on Brandon's mind, because I remember my birthday having like a serious conversation with him about like just how like invested in this we were, but he was like concerned because he was like, I just don't want to feel like I'm like plucking you away from like your church and the ministries that you're involved in there. And I remember I was just like I don't feel like that's going to happen. Like if I end up leaving my church, like it's going to be for the right reasons. And like I'm open to continuing for that to be a possibility.
Well, another thing about that, first of all, her birthday is on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
so it was on Valentine's
perfect.
Day. Well, the thing was around that time, like I remember we were also having a conversation about taking another step forward towards marriage. So that would involve like pre-engagement counseling.
Oh wow.
But now I told her, so we had very strong feelings for each other. I felt like I loved her at the time, and I felt like she loved me as well. But I told her this. I told her, do not tell me that you love me. I will be the first one to tell you that I love you. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're giving to me. I will be giving to you, and you will receive.
I'm done.
Very adamant about that.
You were. Now, what come about that? Why did you approach it that way?
Because at that time, like I was just so, like I was telling you before, like I was so focused on dating to see what somebody can do for me. So at this point, by the time I was dating her, I was really just studying, like, what is it like to be a husband?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to date her and kind of practice with my limited knowledge, and of course with like help from other men in my life on how to be a husband, but in dating. So I'm like, all right, so I'm going to pay for every meal. I'm not going to ask if she's going to pitch in. My thing is like I'm going to present myself as a man that she could choose to marry, and then from that I'm going to see how she responds.
Wow.
And the way that she responds will let me know that she's a potential wife.
Yeah.
So I'm like, listen, like I'm content in Christ. So I'm just like, all right, let me just be a gentleman. And I want to be the first to do certain things. And that's where it came from. And I didn't want her to, and probably because of like, watching Married at First Sight, there were girls that would tell their their significant others that they love them first, and the guy is
I
love you. Yeah, we just met.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel the same way. Like
I tell all the time, like, you know, if one of us has to go, I want to be the one that goes first. Like, I want to be the one that gets embarrassed first. I don't want her to be that person. So I'm just like,
right.
And then she agreed. And then literally the next week later, I told her that I loved her. And
oh wow.
And then around that time, we had that conversation about, you know, getting pre-engagement counseling, and then the church thing. So three things that was going on in my mind when it came to church. So to me, like this was like the biggest deal breaker. Like the fact that, like, you know, some people, their deal breakers is like, oh, if you don't go to church, then I can't date you. This is like, she is involved. She was on staff at her church.
Oh wow.
I was heavily involved in serving. So my mind was like, our commitments to our churches may be the one factor that keeps us apart.
Wow.
So I was, and then, but we decided, when we decided to choose that we're going to pursue marriage, and that wasn't an issue anymore. Now it was, you know, picking the churches. So in my mind, I'm thinking there's three things that are in my mind. There are three voices. There, what I really want, which is for her to come to my church selfishly,
right?
What seems logical, and what was logical was going to her church because, you know, I was going to move in with her after marriage, in this area in Revere, near Boston.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, like, we should just go to her church because, like, she's 5 minutes from her church. And then what I felt like the Lord was kind of leading us towards, I felt like it was my church, but I was kind of just wanted to play by ear. And we were just looking at, like, you know, what was happening during that time, you know. And that's what made me hesitant, because I'm like, I don't want to just like say come to my church because I want to go to my church,
right?
And I don't, and of course, like, I want to be willing to let go of my church and go to her church, and I'm like, it just makes more sense to me logically to go to her church.
Oh, see,
and just figuring out where God was leading us, which was like the third and most important voice was his. So like you can share about, like, you know, what you were going on, what was going on between you and your church.
Yeah. Well, so I was on staff at my previous church. I was working, I believe, 30 hours per week. And I was in school finishing my master's degree. I was in seminary at the time.
Wow. Okay.
And so I was at the point in my counseling degree where I was about to start practicum and internship. And so balancing school and working at the church, being as heavily involved in ministry as I was really hard. And then it became like the straw that broke everything, was that I needed to start internship. And I was like, I can't maintain all of this.
Yeah.
And even doing as much as I did was like too much, but I was like just getting there on some fumes. Like I was just making it. And so that was part of it, where it was like, okay, I need to resign from staff at church because internship is number one to finish my master's. Like there's no navigating around that. And so like once that was kind of off the table, that like I was no longer on staff at my church, that I was like just there as a person that served and attended, that definitely took a whole like level of weight off of like the possibility of me leaving. And ultimately, just kind of after visiting Brandon's church and seeing the community there, I really just got the sense that like his church, now our church, is very discipleship focused. And the church that I came from was very serving focused, because we served like the inner city community, people, you know, that had different needs, and it was really like a missionary work in your local city. And I loved that. And like I said, I served so much, and that became so much about like my Christian walk, that like seeing me get to this point of being like really tapped out, moving into a new season, and then juxtaposing that with like, here is Brandon's church where there's community, there's married couples that we could see ourselves like learning from as we go through a really new process of marriage, and the discipleship focus where I can just kind of be part of the church, begin to serve when it feels ready, like when I feel like I'm recharged and like there's a place that I feel like the Lord is just kind of like allowing me to step in and contribute out of love. Like it all just kind of came together in that sense where I was like, that just really feels like natural for where we're at in this season for both of us, like especially knowing how involved he was in his church and growing in his church and mentored and discipling other people. Like it just everything was pointing to that at that point. So that's the decision that we ended up making.
I think that's good for people to hear too, especially when it comes for those who may be going to different churches and they're dating or they're pursuing marriage and they're struggling with what to think about. And it's like when you outweigh the decisions of what God is telling you, like and it wasn't like it was selfish. It wasn't like you were, Brandon, you wasn't like, you need to come, I'm the man, so you got to come with me, you know, kind of deal. And Emily, you know, you were at a space to where things were changing. Things were shifting, and it was just the right time. And so God was like pointing that direction, and you were seeing all that you can grow with at his church.
Yeah, we had our issues. I think that was like at the beginning of our marriage, that was our biggest, I guess, kind of like feeling. Yeah, was to kind of choose with church, because I know you was comfortable with yours.
I was,
and you was uncomfortable.
I was uncomfortable with yours.
You just like, but I was actually serving at mine.
Yep.
And you just didn't want to leave. He was like,
I just didn't want to leave. I mean, I had stepped down from some youth ministry, the youth ministry, and from a lot of the other ministries because I was exhausted. I had finished my master's program. I was just like, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to do nothing. And he started to serve and lead.
It was no little basic serve either. I wasn't just at the doors. They chose me to be captain of 70 people, and it was by accident.
Yeah, so it was a lot. That's a whole story in itself. So I was like, okay, so that's kind of what led us. So I understand. And it was really more so like, okay, I see where you're going. I see that you were growing too, like, you know, in God. And I saw how his faith was growing. And so I was like, why would I trade that in for, no, let's just go
for comfortability.
For comfortability. Like, we'll figure this out.
I didn't make a big deal. You was like, well, you choose where. I kind of stuck here right now, but
right.
I was like, you could choose to stay there, but then my daddy would have been like, why is she in here?
I know, because they went to his dad was at the same church.
He had some influence.
Yeah. So so you y'all realized the churches that, you know, whose church y'all needed to go to. So when did y'all get married? What time frame did that happen? Or propose? Maybe go engagement and then
So when we decided that we were going to go to my church, this was like probably around this time, in like May, June 2022.
Okay.
And then we started getting pre-engagement counseling by actually like the directors of my discipleship school. This couple that we're close friends with, Seth and Elaine. They have twins now, so
yay.
So we were going through pre-engagement counseling, and that was when they were, you know, making sure we learned about communication, how to settle conflict, like if we're both in alignment with like what type of marriage that we want, Like, do we understand the purpose of marriage? Is it to reflect the gospel? All of these things. And when we got the okay, like you can get married, then I had to I'm like, we were like, all right, let's do this now. But I'm like, in my mind, I have to like, let my mom know that like we're getting married. So around this time she met my mom, and my mom loved her. She also met my dad too. Like my dad loved her too. They're divorced.
Okay.
But my mom was like, you know what, you guys are lovely together, but you could wait maybe 2 years. And I'm like, Mom, I love the Lord and I don't want to burn with lust.
I don't want to burn with lust.
This is happening soon, Mom.
Right. Hilarious.
Long story short, like, so almost a year after we started dating, this was August 2022.
Okay.
We get engaged.
Okay.
So almost a year.
September we got engaged.
September. Yeah, that's right. It was a year. Mind you, like I had this great idea of like having a picnic, and we would have these intentional cards that we would ask each other while we were dating. I got a photographer.
Wow.
And we both love drinking Martinelli apple cider.
Apple cider, yep.
Yeah, because we don't like to drink, but that's like our drink. And the thing is, I got 2 big bottles of Martinelli apple ciders, but I didn't have a bottle opener. I'm asking everyone in the park if they had a bottle opener or a lighter, and I'm like, somebody has to have a lighter or something.
Right.
Everybody did. Everybody doesn't smoke. But anyway, it took a while to get a bottle opener. So while we're trying to find that, she's trying to open the bottles with her hands.
Oh no.
And end up cutting her fingers.
Oh no.
I'm like, no, babe, don't do that. No. So like we had like these half cracked bottles of Martinelli spilling out of the bottle just there until we got the bottle opener.
Right.
and we were sitting there, and I think I forgot the question, but it was like,
it was the card that I got. It was something about love. Like it was like make a statement about love, I think the card said. And so that was the perfect time for you to do what you were planning.
Was that wasn't planned though, Brandon? Was it that card just happened? Okay.
It just happened.
So she got the card. So she made a statement about love to me. And I'm like, I want to make a statement about love to you. I don't remember what I said. I just said I love you. And
you were like, but we need to stand up. And I was like, okay. I was
like what?
On the picnic blanket, like on my stomach, just like
right, just chilling and comfortable.
While I make this statement.
Meanwhile, the photographer is like right there making it hot. Like I'm like, dude, like you gotta blend into
right. It's right there.
So you paid me to be here, so
right. Not subtle at all.
He's like, I'm getting this shot. And I was
right.
like, I love you, and I wanna I got on one knee and I proposed, asked her to marry me, and
wow.
we got engaged. So that was September 2022, and we got married April 29th, 2023.
Oh wow, that was beautiful.
Oh yeah,
that whole journey was great to hear how that all transpired in the proposal. That was really cool. That was
I knew we were getting engaged that day.
You did before the
It was not an open, explicit "this is happening," but I could read him so well. First of all, I knew the day that he bought the ring, because
how did you know?
The day itself, the way he was responding to what his plans were that day was just
Lord.
He was like,
he can't lie. He doesn't know.
I'm not a good liar.
We had, I think it was like a spontaneous, maybe not spontaneous, but like last minute planned date. in Revere where I was living at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, like I'm with my friend in Revere, and I can meet you after. Meanwhile, my mom also lived in Revere, and we had recently talked about like her going ring shopping with him to help pick out the ring. And so like we get to the restaurant to eat, and he has like his water with a straw and lemon, and he's just going like this.
I was so excited.
He's just like staring, like just dazed, like moving the straw around. And I'm like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And like, just the way that he was acting, he was so like giddy, and like you could tell
his mannerisms,
in his thoughts.
I was wondering when I was going to propose. I had no idea what I was going to do. I'm thinking like, oh, like I have it. I might as well, like, maybe I should do it today.
Maybe I should do it today.
Right now.
And then he like takes me to his car, and he's like, close your eyes and like wait here. And I'm like, what? Like, is he doing it today? He had this. Oh, it's right here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So I'm in mental health. It's a feelings wheel.
Oh yeah.
So he makes me cover my eyes while he gets this out of the car and then hands it to me. And I open my eyes and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm excited, but I'm like, why did you just make that the weirdest moment? Because I'm waiting for you to pop the question. Like,
I was just holding it until the ring came with this.
That is funny. Oh my goodness. You still have it. That's funny. Yeah. So listen, I want to know more. It's so much more that I want to ask you, and I know you would help the singles out here.
Oh yeah.
But we're gonna have to start closing it out, unfortunately, because I love what we're talking about. But I do want to ask the question as a final note, Brandon and Emily too, if you are also coaching as well, was you talked about a roadmap that you work with your clients on, and can you speak more about how you work with them with building this roadmap and maybe how those can work with you?
Yeah, so basically I kind of just took my personal experience in dating and realized that I actually had a timeline. So it's basically a timeline that I help guys with of, all right, when do you want to start dating and what is your goal? Like, what is your end goal? Is it marriage? Ideally, it should be marriage, or it should be at least engagement.
Right.
So, basically I would help them and ask them, like, what are the things that you want to see when you're dating somebody between the first time that you date them to, the time that you engage with them. That could include when do you want to claim them as your boyfriend or girlfriend? I mean, when do you want to claim as your girlfriend? Because guys tend to, like myself, if we don't have a vision of what goal that we want to achieve and when we want to achieve it, like, we can take sometimes years before we even ask that question.
That's true.
Yeah. So different things, when you want to meet the parents, when you want to start talking about, I don't know, pre-engagement counseling, when is a right time to, talk about your financial situation. So many things that are custom made for them, so that the goal is for them to, like the Bible says, when there's vision, when there's no vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
If you are able to know exactly, and it's not going to look exactly as you want it to look like, because of course there's life, and there's different people in your life. So, but if you know that these are the steps that you want to take with another person, and be intentional with when you want to get married and when you want to have children and raise a family, then it'll keep you from wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of money, and even emotional energy by just going from date to date or from relationship to relationship.
Wow.
Yeah, a custom roadmap that will help you, that will give you like a guide to what your ultimate destiny is, or goal is, which is marriage.
That's good. I really love that, because on the other end, when I work with single women, it's more the opposite of us getting prepared for our husbands, like what that looks like. But I like how you are like, you're making them lead, so they know the vision, because that's what I'm helping the ladies that I work with work towards. Like, is he showing you XYZ, and you're helping them show what they can, kind of deal. So that's really cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yes.
and of course, we do coach. We give free coaching together with
Oh,
both, for
yeah.
both men and women. So we have this Zoom series
Okay.
called Deconstructing Christian Dating. And
Ooh.
basically, actually kind of similar to some of the conversations that you guys have had. Like, I remember you had a conversation about like, how like, should you date somebody in the same church? Like, we
Yeah.
Yeah.
talk about subjects like that, and basically, like the word says, deconstruct like these ideas or these traditions that we have created in the church, and see if, is this really for me? Is this really eternal, or is this just something that we have created to protect ourselves?
That's
Yeah.
good.
We talk about dating apps. We talk about brothers and like relating to your brother and sister. We talk about dating in the church, and we give people practical tools, both men and women, on basically to help them receive freedom from some of these ideas and thoughts and that they believe about themselves, and they believe about these traditions that they have in church, so that they have freedom to date people. We talk about girl code, guy code. Like, I have some opinions about girl code, guy code, but that's just my opinion. I want people to be free, get freedom, and find their wife and husband. So
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that you both do it together too.
Oh yeah.
That really is good. You have something to say?
Oh no. Look, I'm already taking mental notes,
Yeah.
especially for the men's side of things, because eventually I'm gonna start doing the same thing.
Yeah. And we got some things that are coming up soon too, that we may need some assistance on from y'all with. So we'll keep in contact with that. We'll share on another side of things, but we won't let the people know yet, because it's exciting news. It's new. So no, but is there anything you put that there might be something that you could offer the audience? Is there anything you would like to offer the audience other than them going to the webinars that you and Emily have?
yeah so any guy that is watching the program, if you go to if you have Instagram, my Instagram is at BGLEE001. That's at BGLEE001, and send me a DM. Then I will offer you a free guide to creating your own custom roadmap with the assistance with myself.
Amen.
Or if you have TikTok, you can at me at Coach Brandon, and just message me, and we'll go through and we'll create your own personal roadmap for free, dating roadmap for free. So first, I don't know, 20 guys that
I
DM.
love it. That's good. That's good. We'll make sure to put all your information in the description too,
we'll put it in.
so that they'll be able to easily click and get you for the guys that are listening, because that's needed.
Yeah.
We need all the men to help out here from all around the nation, internationally. Oh, sorry. I just feel really passionate about men getting help. So thank you so much, you two, for coming in and for just sharing your story, for sharing how you all met, love, and your journey to marriage. It's really been a blessed experience, and really enjoyed hearing y'all, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Emily, would you like anybody need to contact you? Are you good to go? Do you need us to?
So my Instagram handle is at Swiss Army Girl. So this is from like years ago. I have not changed my handle. So the letter Swiss, the word Swiss Army girl. I'm not like officially offering coaching, but I'm always happy to have conversations with women about dating. It is something that, as we said, we're extremely passionate about. And the next time that we do have a deconstructing Christian dating conversation, we'd be happy, if people are reaching out, we'd be happy to share the links and dates to those as they come up too. So
yeah, and also just message us any questions that you have on dating, and we'll probably cover that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you both. And listen, y'all, go and follow them. They got the resources. They're here to help. Yes. So be sure to stay tuned with them. Go follow, ask questions like they said. And as always, we thank y'all for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment. Okay. Last episode of the season. Yeet. Peace out.
Yeah.
Marriage Purpose Collide, the podcast.
Oh, sorry. With Marriage Purpose Collide, the podcast.
Thank you for tuning into When Marriage and Purpose Collide, the podcast.
Click on the links in the description to learn a little more about us. Subscribe and send a review on your takeaways or any new insight you have gained in this episode. If you are a single Christian woman and you are seeking to date with intention and cultivate love in 2024, you'll also find resources and details on programs I have to offer in the description.
Don't worry, man. Resources coming soon.
See you back here for our next episode.